So LANXESS is a specialty chemical company with a global footprint, especially production sites in Europe, US, and Asia. But in this company, 12 years ago, I started as a chemist, just finished my PhD, and as most chemists starting in a laboratory, became responsible for a small lab, my own research topic, start working on it. How do you start here? You start reading all the old lab journals from the people who did your position before you. And it takes some time to understand what were their thinking or thoughts, what trials they did, and you want to avoid that you produce double work. You don't want to repeat trials they have done, but this is actually very hard to catch up with the old knowledge. Some knowledge are in cabinets in the basement, some are digital, sometimes you have an Excel, sometimes you have a Word file, we have it everywhere. So very hard. The second thing, in product development R&D, many people, after 4 or 5 years having this position in a big corporate, changing position. They're getting promoted to marketing, sales, or production. In my case, after 4 years, I went to production, and also my knowledge left again the company or left the R&D department, and somebody else had to deal with my lab journals and the lab journals before. I think this was not very good and quite painful, and you feel you are just on speed, then you're already leaving the area. And it must be possible to make it better and to be more efficient in product development. 4 years ago, I became responsible building up the LANXESS data science department. And with this department, we worked in all areas of the company, like from supply chain optimization, production, marketing, sales projects, but also back to the lab, AI product development, a topic I really loved. And with having the pain points in mind, we thought with digital technologies, it must be possible to make it better. And we introduced in several projects a cycle for sequential learning. Basically, how it starts, database of all relevant experiments. All the failures other laboratory manager did in the past are all very relevant, important information. Bring them all into the system that nobody has to start reading old papers or scripts. The second part is every chemist brings his own knowledge about the mechanism of the chemistry, how things working. And this knowledge also should be collected and brought all into an AI model. So with this AI model, basically, we're starting to predict recipes. Recipes, for example, to make a product more sustainable, make it better recyclable, reduce the carbon dioxide footprint, things like this. So the AI model recommends the next step is test the candidates in the lab, because the AI model at the beginning might be quite stupid, doesn't know so much, and will generate failures. So you have to prove it in reality in the laboratory and then bring the failures and the results of your trials back into the system. And the AI model becomes a little bit smarter for the next trial. And this cycle can go several times. Later I will talk about how many times are necessary until something useful is reached. And the target always is upscaling and to go into production with your new products. To briefly explain the model itself, the machine learning model, basically it brings the connection between input and output. Input can be chemical A plus B plus C in different ratios, different amounts. And this results to a product with different other parameters. Parameter could be, for example, if you make some polymers, how about heat stability? So in the area of e-mobility, at some parts in the car, you need a very high heat stability. And this could be like a goal of your new product to make it better heat stable. In AI models, typically, when we talk about ChatGPT or big solutions, identifying pictures or identifying faces or sound data, videos, always big data. AI product development typically are very small data sets, maybe some 100 trials, maybe some 1,000 trials, but it's far away from big data. It's really small data, and the data itself is even sparse. So it's not the perfect condition for an AI model, but due to bringing domain knowledge also into this model, even with a small amount of data, you can train a model which knows already a lot. Maybe one easy example. If you want to dilute sugar into your tea, you will realize as more warm as warmer the water is, as better the sugar will dissolve. So a model would learn you should heat up like crazy, then it will be perfectly dissolved. Domain knowledge, or the could be, I cannot heat it under atmospheric pressure to more than 100 degrees Celsius because the water will evaporate. A very important information. This information, if it's not there, the model has no points there. So it doesn't know, and it will suggest, oh, you should try to heat up your tea water to 1,000 degrees or 1 million degrees, put the sugar inside, and it will be perfect. It's not the reality. And by bringing this knowledge into the system, you already save a lot of trials. So, and this is one very important part. It's not only about data. It's about the scientific experts in the laboratory with their ideas, with their models, how the chemistry is working, which compounds are reacting and how it reacts, also how formulas look like and what is the impact if we change something in the formula. And this domain knowledge flows in the model. And this makes the model quite strong, even with a small amount of data. Now back to the first question. How many cycles? 10, 100, 1,000? Any guess? Million? Million trials would be very, very expensive, because you have to keep in mind every lab trial will cost resources in the lab, and it's quite, 1 million trials would be a failure for us. So one easy example. The colleagues wanted to reach parameter A and B in the corner. So low values for parameter A, high values for parameter B. This was the initial data sets. You can see all lab trials which exist, all failed basically. So none of them reached the target region. So we put the information into our model, started sequential learning 1, and you see with the red stars, getting better. There's one point where the people already said, oh, it looks quite okay. It's better than the old trials, but not really great. It's okay. Then the people said, maybe we should go to design of experiments and try this, because everybody talks about this and should be also very successful. It's a lot of trials you have to do, but maybe this leads to a result and to make it comparable. So with classical design of experiments, we reached some more points. You see the red stars. Also, none of them reached the target area. It optimized basically in the area where it knows something, but not in the area where we would like to go. Sequential learning, cycle 2. Project finished. We already reached our parameters we want to have, and we have several products which having both parameters in the same time. So quite fast. But now you could say, okay, 2 parameters sounds quite easy. You could just, maybe we're also lucky. The next example, a little bit more difficult, because in this example, you want to reach the dark green area for parameter A, B, C, and D, but all at once. So it doesn't help you if one point here is in the target area, if it reflects parameter C and D somewhere different. And none of these points are in the same time in both areas. So maybe you have a product which has a good heat stability, or you have a product which is easy recyclable, but these are different products. So you cannot mix them, and you need all the properties united in one product. So we started with sequential learning. already started 1, 2, and 3 in this diagram. You can see it was possible to reach with cycle number 2 and 3 the target area, and also marked that we reached it in both diagrams. This was something very important, and for the colleagues in the laboratory, it was very exciting because they told us in the beginning they don't really believe it's possible to reach the target of A, B, C, D at once, because 2 parameters are behaving like if the one goes up, the other goes down, so it might be a very hard target. And this we reached with 2 to 3 sequential learnings. For me, this case of product development cases, it changed how the chemists and the people in the laboratory are working. They have to bring their knowledge into the system, they play with it. It's a tool to create faster, relevant product formulations or new products. It changed how they are working. It's also a big mindset thing, how they're working. It's not just trial and error, but let the model be trained, learn, and then you become faster and faster. And for the next question, you already have a model which you can already base the question on, and you will be even faster. So it's an area which was, for me, a surprise, because before we worked with AI, container tracking, a lot of data, GPS data, things like this. This is quite easy for AI models. But this one was very hard. But bringing both together, domain knowledge and data, was very, very successful. But now the most difficult topic is, what's the value of this? We have an AI model. Okay, we will be faster to predict or to formulate products. But you cannot even measure it. You don't know how long you would need to reach the target without this. It's only like, it's something hard to measure, and in the same time, the challenge, oh, now I lost my, I don't know anymore.
The challenge is to measure the success of these initiatives, basically.
With production cases, it's sometimes very easy. You just take the sensors, you take out the amount of a flow meter, say I gained 1.2% more of my production plant, great success. You can translate it in euros. This one maybe reaches markets or will be bought by customers in some years. So you don't know the success at the beginning. But it's a dramatic change how people are working, how they utilize lab resources, and being very focused on the research work. Okay, and now I would give over to Pedro, talking about how to measure this kind of projects.
Thank you. Very nice presentation. Thank you very much. So, I wonder how you measure, prioritize, and assess your digital initiatives. My name is Pedro Sola, a strategy consultant, and I was lucky enough to be at Waldemar's team for 6 months, trying to answer this question, writing my master thesis. And this is not an easy question to answer, is it? The literature tells us that we have no established methodologies to measure the success of digital initiatives, basically because the classical methodologies that we know right now, they are very focused on the short term, as Waldemar was explaining, euros. They need clear outcomes from the beginning. They are unable to respond to environmental dynamic environment, so the so-called VUCA. Anyone knows VUCA? Yeah, someone is nodding, okay. And they give a strong preference to financial benefits, as Waldemar was explaining. So normally these kind of digital initiatives, if they don't bring the euro, they will be overlooked by management. So With that in mind, what we did when I came to LANXESS, normally the problem is that we don't have enough data, but LANXESS was doing a great job already because they were considering things such as scalability, a commitment of management, strategic fit, commitment of experts. These are very important values. And when we ran a correlation in a small control group of perceived successful initiatives, we discovered that the potential benefits in terms of money, they didn't correlate with the success of the digital initiative. So with that in mind, we thought, okay, we have to do something, dig deeper, and try to find out what is the value then, if not the business case in terms of profits, how can you explain the success of the digital initiative? So how to approach this? How you can approach this in your organization? So in this case, my approach was very straightforward. So basically 3 steps. Gather the inputs because we don't have the data, so we need to go and get the data in a bottom-up approach with the users, then translate that input and understand the success, and then condensate those insights into a methodology. What I did, I carried out 37 interviews with 6 business units at LANXESS and a global survey. Then for translating the inputs into understanding the success, I ran a narrative analysis and coding guide. Does anyone know what coding is? Coding guide? No one? So this is basically, you analyze the transcript of the interviews, and then if someone says, now I can do my work in 2 hours and before in 4, that means process optimization. So you basically translate what the users are saying into small words and then count them, how many times do they repeat themselves. And then at the very end, I design a handbook with managerial questions attached to KPIs and to a punctuation. So numbers to classify those initiatives. So in order to go and get the data, you need a clear structure for a questionnaire. So basically what I did is, okay, strategy is the main important thing. And I went from strategy down to the added value that those digital initiatives were bringing. So basically, I asked the users, these 37 interviews, what are the strategic objectives of the business unit at the moment? How is this digital initiative contributing to the strategy? For example, in Waldemar's case, the artificial intelligence product development, it was contributing to assess the market and then to position themselves ahead of the competition. Then what is the impact on the process chain before and after the digital initiative? What are the major benefits? Who is benefiting from those benefits? Is the customer, stakeholders? And then finally, what are the added value activities that are enabled by this digital initiative? So surprisingly, after running those 37 interviews and decoding them, we came to these most repeated success factors that these initiatives were providing. Not surprisingly, in the first place, employee empowerment. So it enabled chemists to make data-driven decisions. Then process optimization, shortening cycles. Waldemar was talking about cycles before, so we were able to shorten the cycles by 200%. So that means process optimization. That is not money, but it's a process optimization. This is an added value. Then transparency, one single source of truth for all the employees. Of course, knowledge expansion, so the creating of new mechanical properties in a recipe, for example, to have a patent, or even 2 or even 3 that were run in the market thanks to AI. Cross collaboration, so now the chemists are talking to the data scientists, the product development team is talking to marketing. So that was one special success factor why these initiatives they succeed. And then strategic position, making sure that the company in the future is going to be there, and knowledge transfer so that the expertise of generations stays within the company. Then those success factors needed to be condensed in what I call a handbook, so managerial questions. These are 2 examples of process optimization and employee empowerment out of identified 17 fields. And we can see, for example, does the digital initiative reduce the time required for the process? Yes and no, receive a point or no, and then the KPIs to double check and to keep track of this added value. The same for employee empowerment, and then many more that I don't want to go into detail. But after we run those managerial questions through the digital initiatives, we reassessed them and we came to this outcome. So for this control group, we realized 2 things. One is that not all digital initiatives, they represent the same nature. So we had to separate them into different spheres. Sphere 1, 2, 3, depending on the immediacy of the added value and on the tangibility. So in the heart, we have revenues and cost reductions, then the indirect value contributions, process optimization, customer journey, employee empowerment, business placement, and then the intangible long-term benefits, in this case with AI especially, are in the sphere 3, and we have strategic position, technology expertise, knowledge expansion, and then risk mitigation. And that is the outcome of the master thesis. We translated that with Excel and then Power BI and came to the following results. These are exemplary, so we don't have real names here, of course, but now we can see 2 things. On the right-hand side, we see the digital initiatives individually, what is the added value that they contribute, and then broken down by strategic fit, activity metrics, and then direct contribution, indirect contribution, intangible aspects, and then the technology that they bring to the table. And then on the left-hand side, we have the portfolio overview. So which areas are being covered by our digital initiatives? We can see that employee empowerment is the strongest, but this is explorative. This is not representative for the whole LANXESS. This was just for 14 projects. But that allows us to make investment decisions on one hand and to control and have transparency over the portfolio that we are building, digitally speaking. If we see that we are not very strong in big data, then we have a chance to recognize it and then to invest on initiatives that bring that to the table. So yes, this is basically this is the result of the master thesis. I want to ask here in the room what success is for you. You can answer maybe for yourself. We hope that with this presentation, we inspire you to maybe look at other aspects beyond just the short-term economic benefits. And I wonder how you will measure in the future then your digital initiatives. Thank you very much.